This video is going to be slightly different from my usual reactions. I'd like to share with you a story of a woman who turned back to music when she was 70 years old, released her first ever album, started touring, and won her Grammy when she was 90. We're talking about Elizabeth Cotten. And this is a proof for you that it's never too late to start expressing through music as long as you have some passion for it and love for it in the first place. So let's dive into it. Elizabeth Cotten was born at the end of 19th century, in the year of 1893. She did come from a musical family, so she was surrounded with music from the very young age. And she even picked up a guitar quite early. In her early teens, I think when she was 11, she started playing a guitar, then later on she bought a banjo and even wrote her first song. But then she had to stop her music pursuits or stop playing because of her life commitments, because of raising a daughter, taking care of a family. She might have played at home, maybe in church a little bit, but didn't do it so consistently. And then she came back to it at the age of 70, kind of finishing her hero journey with winning a Grammy. And then in the 2019, she was even introduced to the North Carolina's Music Hall of Fame. I found this video on the YouTube channel of North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, and it beautifully speaks about her career in more detail than I just gave you. This video was, I believe, made and was played at the ceremony where she was inducted to the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame in 2019. Let's check it out.
The music of African Americans has influenced the entire pantheon of American music, from blues to folk to country to rhythm and blues and rock and roll. But sometimes an important voice was silent for long periods of time. That is the story of Elizabeth Cotten, who was mostly unheard and unknown for years. Elizabeth Cotten was born Elizabeth Nevels on January 5th, 1893 in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. She was raised in a musical family and first played her brother's banjo before she purchased a Sears and Roebuck guitar from McDade's store on Franklin Street when she was 11 with $3.75, when she only earned 75 cents a month.
Wow.
Elizabeth Cotten was left-handed but played the guitar strung for a right-handed player by turning the guitar upside down. This meant that the top strings were on the bottom and the bottom strings were on top, as she played the bass lines with her fingers and the melody with her thumbs. This unique finger style later became dubbed cotton picking. During her early teens, she began writing songs including Freight Train, which became a timeless song recorded by Peter, Paul and Mary, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, His Name is Alive, Doc Watson, Taj Mahal, Chet Atkins, Grateful Dead,
all the
Mike,
greats.
Peggy and Pete Seeger, and Gary Clark Jr.
Freight train, run so fast.
This is a song that she wrote when she was 11, and then recorded later.
Please don't tell what train I'm on. They won't know what route I'm going.
Wow.
In 1910, she married Frank Cotten and gave up her guitar playing after they had a daughter, Lily. Over the next 20 years, the Cottens owned homes in North Carolina, New York City, and Washington, D.C. For 25 years, Elizabeth gave up playing the guitar publicly except for occasional performances at church. Fate had a way of bringing her back into music where her talents were recognized and acclaimed. However, at home, her family always enjoyed her playing well into the night. Elizabeth worked all her life, putting her many skills to work to overcome obstacles and to face each new phase of her life with optimism. Proof of her progressive, uplifting nature really showed through when she began a new career in music at the age of 70. Elizabeth was working in a department store when she saw a young girl who had gotten lost from her mother. Cotten helped the girl find her mother. That girl was Peggy, daughter of composer Ruth Crawford Seeger of the famous Seeger family. Charles and Ruth Seeger hired Elizabeth to work as a nanny. Penny, the youngest daughter, could not say Elizabeth and nicknamed her Libba. The Seegers were a musical family who often played at home. This led Libba to teach her music to the children. Son Mike Seeger recognized Cotten's talent and taped her playing. That tape became Cotten's first album, Folk Songs and Instrumentals with Guitar. It was released on Folkways Records. She toured with Mike, which led to the folk community recognizing her unique talent. Elizabeth Cotten performed with artists Mississippi John Hurt, John Lee Hooker, and Muddy Waters during the folk revival of the 1960s. She performed at the Smithsonian Festival of American Folklife, appeared with Muddy Waters at the Newport Folk Festival, and toured the USSR with Taj Mahal. Elizabeth Cotten's career continued into her 90s. And in 1984, she won a Grammy for Best Ethnic or Traditional Recording for her album Elizabeth Cotten Live, released by Arhoolie Records.
Every time when I say that, I want y'all to say it.
Wow.
When I say, oh Lord of me, everybody can say, shake, sugar-ree, everything I got is in pawn.
So touching.
She lived in Syracuse, New York until her death on June 29, 1987, at the approximate age of 103. She was named a living treasure and has a park and a
103.
statue in her honor in Syracuse. 2 years after her death, in 1989, Elizabeth Cotten was named one of the 75 most influential African American women in the documentary I Dream a World.
Wow, it's beautiful playing. Wow, there you have it. So one more time, thank you so much to the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. From Elizabeth's story, you can tell that music was part of her life. She never seemed to think like music is somehow inaccessible for me. She, for example, picked up the guitar the other way than usual, left-handedly, just flipped it around and started playing, developed her own technique, cotton picking. So let's have a look at that. What was that? So this is a right-handed guitar. Back then, they probably weren't making left-handed guitars at all, or they were probably very rare. So she just took the guitar and learned it this way. This string at the top is the thinnest, and this string at the bottom is the thickest, the lowest ones. And usually we play the melody on the thin strings and the bass on the thick ones. So when you hear Chet Atkins and all these people who play these fingerstyle techniques, you see the thumb determining the rhythm, something like. So the thumb would do that, the job, and then these fingers would play the melody. And the thumb would keep going. But in her style, she started using the thumb to play the melody and these fingers to play the bass. I can't begin to understand how that would work. This is really hard for me. But it goes to show you that if you have the determination, the love for the thing, and you just don't let your limiting beliefs or any preconceived notions about how it's hard and how it's complicated and how you need to know amounts of music theory and all that thing and how it's just for the privileged and for the talented ones, if you don't let these stop you, you can just go for it and do it. Now let's have a look at Elizabeth's most famous song she wrote when she was about 11 or 12, called Freight Train. So this is a song when she wrote as a child and then resurrected when she was an old woman.
I'm going to play Freight Train, and I'm going to play it in the style of cotton picking style. That's with two fingers. This finger and that one, and my thumb. That's two fingers, see. And when you play with three, it's ragtime style, but I'm going to play this in cotton picking style.
Nothing complicated. Beautiful and pure.
Freight train, run so fast. Freight train, run so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on. They won't know what route I'm gone. When I'm dead and in my
Closing her eyes.
no more good time. Yeah, I ain't crazy. Place to stone at my head and fiend tell them all that I'm gone to sleep.
Ooh. A little bend.
train runs so fast. Freight train runs so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on. They won't know what route I'm gone. When I die, Lord, bury me deep, way down on old Chestnut Street.
Explain the melody.
I can hear old number 9 as she comes rolling by.
Ah. So much emotion in such a simple melody. Wow. Shout out to Vintage Music Hub for finding this performance. Wow. This is such a beautiful full circle moment. She writes her song when she's little, goes through life, hero's journey. Then she comes back to her passion and manages to take it that far, winning a Grammy, which is still recognized as one of the biggest music awards that there is. Wow, wow, wow. And the music is not complicated. The song sounds like something a child would write. Like the main melody. Da 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 da. Freight train. You just need a few notes on the guitar. You can pretty much play this. You know, if you like learning, let's say, C major scale. This is basically it. Then you add a few chords and you got that. But then the whole journey she's gone through and the whole life experience and wisdom and all the things she had to live through in her voice, for example, and in her emotion are so powerful. Again, we get so hung up on the technicalities and music theories and things like that. I see it all the time in schools. Do your grades and learn this first. But that's not what music is about. Music is about that emotion you convey and you express, and that's what she did just there is something that young people cannot do, even though they can be technical and amazing. It's a journey you're on. And so it doesn't mean that you yourself will be able to win a Grammy next year, but it means that no matter how old you are, you can pick up an instrument and write a song and play it for your kids and relieve yourself of some emotions that are buried down there and make someone else happier. So that's what I'm trying to say with this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was inspiring for you. I just wanted to spread the word about Elizabeth Cotten. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to stay in touch with me, consider subscribing to my newsletter. I call it Fana's Insights. I try and publish weekly. And I promise I won't be spamming you with any nonsense. Have a peaceful week wherever you are. See you in the next video. Keep it funky.